Good morning and welcome to the live session of week 4 for the subject Urban Governance and Development Management. I am Nikita Ranjan. I am the teaching assistant for this subject. As we have no participants yet, I would wait for a few minutes so that people can join. Hello Priya and Rahul, welcome to today's live session. We are waiting a few minutes for other people to join and then we can start with the session. Okay, it's 5 minutes now. I think we can start. I see Priya and Rahul in the meeting. Please, if any of you have any doubts during the session or at the end of it, feel free to post your questions in the chat box. Priya is raising hand. Okay, Priya, please enter your question in the in call messages. Priya, do you have any question? If not, can we start the session? Okay, I'm sorry, I had muted myself. Okay. Priya raised a hand. I guess it was about this that I'm not audible. I think I'm audible now. So should we start? Hello, am I audible? Okay. Okay. Let's start the session then. So hello everyone and welcome to today's session. Today is the live session for week 4 in which we'll discuss assignment 4. Last week we had a little different session than every other week. We did not discuss any of the questions as we faced the problem that this year's questions were the same as earlier runs of the questions, so we could not give out the answers of those questions to you. So we took any doubts or any queries which the participants had, and we answers those. But as you can see, we do not have as many participants in the live sessions who are attending. It is quite possible that some people might have other doubts related to those questions and they are not able to join the session. So for that, what we are going to do for today's session is we'll take up the questions which were assigned in the previous run, and I'll tell you the approach how to solve it. I'll give you a little background of the question, a little detail on what the subject matter of the question is, how are you supposed to solve it and everything, but I will not tell you the answer to this question. That you have to arrive at yourselves because you are required to submit the answers in your assignment. So for every question, I'll just give you the background and subject matter of the topic related to that question. So this is what we will do today. Apart from that, I will discuss another question today which was posed in the last session. So last session, someone inquired about what is a structural development plan or structural plan which Karnataka is making, and how is it different from other development plans. So I want to show you this. So this is the URDPFI guidelines. You might you might know about this, or if you do not know, let me show this document to you. This is a very important document, and it forms the basic guidelines for the urban and regional development plans. All the urban and regional development plans which are made, they follow the guidelines mentioned by this document. Although this is not a mandate, as you need to understand, these are just guidelines which the different state parastatal bodies and local bodies need to follow while making their urban and regional development plans. Okay. I have also uploaded this document in the folder which is shared with you. So although you can access this document on the website of MOHUA, but even if you cannot access it there, you can just see the document which is uploaded there on the shared folder, in which all the presentations and study material related to these sessions are uploaded. Okay, so we will go to this table which I just wanted you to show. So in last day also, when the question was posed, I explained that there are various indicative names or different kinds of names which urban local bodies or parastatal bodies or development authorities they use for the similar plans. So like for development plan, the name could be district development plan or a city or metropolitan development plan, or it's even called a master plan, or if a revision comes, then that revision is called a revised development plan. So even the development plan can have several names. This is not an exhaustive list anyway, so there can be other names as well. Then for regional plan, then there is regional plan. So you can have a regional plan, you can have a sub-regional plan for smaller regions, and then it again depends on how the state divides its different regions. So the region could be a metropolitan area region. So again, that plan comes somewhere between the regional plan and development plan, because it focuses on the city proper, and then also on the larger region which surrounds the city. So then there could be other regions within a state for which the state develops specific plans. So there are different types of plans. There are different names of plans which are used by different city and local governments, but most of the plans fall somewhere between these categories. So instead of taking development plan as a specific plan type, you can consider it or understand it as a type of a document uh, which encompasses different indicative plan documents which are mentioned here. If you want to get a better idea of what each of these plan documents are and how they're different from each other and what each document entails, you can go through the description of each of the plan documents which is mentioned in the URDPFI guidelines. I won't go into detail as this document is available to all of you. You can go ahead and see this document at your own time. Next, we'll come to the structural plan which the student asked about. So, this is the structural plan which BMRDA has made for Bengaluru metropolitan region. So this plan is for the metropolitan region of Bangalore, and it is made by the Bengaluru Metropolitan Regional Development Authority, which is BMRDA. As you can see, they have provided, the state has provided a definition for uh, the structural plan mean, like they have defined what the structural plan means. So they've written a structural plan is a regional level perspective plan supporting a long-term vision for development and related spatial perspective for integrated development in the area without compromising on its ecology and natural environment. So you can see this is essentially the state's definition, and the phrase which we need to pay attention most here is this. It's a regional level perspective plan. So then let's go back to the URDPFI guidelines, and you can see here it's a perspective plan and it's for a region level. So you can call it a regional plan, but then in regional plan also it does not go into details of how the region should be developed. It outlines a perspective or a vision or a policy framework on how urban and regional development in that region should be done. So essentially this structural plan is that. Then again, another difference which is there is that the development plans for the city, they are prepared by the BDA. So BDA is Bangalore Development Authority. So Bangalore Development Authority was set up was set up under the Bangalore Development Authority Act, and it is a different body than the Bangalore Metropolitan Regional Development Authority. It was set up under another act which came in 1985. So the Bangalore Development Authority, uh, that authority makes the development plans. It prepares the development plans, and as you can see, it is mentioned in this document the development plan, the history of how the development plans were made. So the first plan came in 1985. It was for a period of 15 years. Second plan came in 95 for a period for up to 2011. So again for 15 years, but then this was uh, revised in revised ahead of completion its completion time, and was notified again as the revised master plan 2015 in 2007. So you can see the time period of the first plan is 15 years, but as then you see the time plan of this revised master plan is 10 years. So here you can see the timeline is also written. So even if you try to chalk out differences in the regional plan and development plan based on their time period, that is also very contextual. It depends on which city you're talking about, which region you're talking about, which state it is in, because all these planning development, like all the acts are enacted by the state. All the regulations which are under each act, all the rules and regulations, they are set up by different states. So every state has its own set of acts, and every city which has its own development authority, they have their own set of guidelines and plans uh, through which they function. So even if this time frame is given, which is 20 to 30 years, and with a review of 5 years, it is a guideline, and it does not always entail, like it does not always mean that the plan, the development plan or the regional development plan which is being made will follow the same guidelines, as which will follow the same time frame as written in the guidelines. So the reason, a little reason which you might be interested in knowing why this is 30 years, 20 to 30 years, and why a review every 5 years is suggested. So earlier, based on general consensus of different governing bodies and different experts, a time period of 20 years was assigned to development plans. But later, based on some other feedback from different governing bodies and other experts, it was further the time frame was further expanded to 30 years, saying that the lifespan of different infrastructures, they can be taken as 30 years. So according to the lifespan of infrastructure which are planned alongside these development plans, the time frame of every development plan can be extended to 30 years. So but the larger consensus was still on 20 years. So the time frame was fixed between 20 to 30 years. And then again, review every 5 years. This is because the economic plan of every state, or the central economic plan, that is is changed. Like it, there's a new economic plan every 5 years. So based on that plan, what kind of funding is available to carry out which kind of functions, and and for what kind of programs or what kind of vision the economic plan is taking. Based on that, a review can be conducted for the development plan every 5 years, and then if there is need, a revised development plan can be made. So that is what happened, as you saw here in the case of Bangalore. So they notified. So a revised master plan was made for the city in 2007. Uh, Further, as I mentioned, there was another question in last session in which someone asked how the ward committees there are different ward committees and they have different local area development plans. How this is coordinated, how the wishes and needs of different ward committees are integrated into one, and then the local, like the local development plan is implemented on the local level. So this is a good depiction, like this is a good diagram which can help you understand how this process is undertaken. So as you can see, the disaggregated local area development plans, these are made by the ward committee and implemented with their leadership. And then these, you can see these arrows go both ways. So there is both a top down and bottom up approach when this leadership and the functioning of implementation and both planning of different plans is taking place. So the development plans is taken care of by the local body. I think someone wants to join. Okay. Hmm. Coming back, you can see the development plans is taken care of by the local body. So you can also see it's just mentioned local body, it's not mentioned urban local body or municipality or anything, because as you might have seen from these documents, different local bodies in different cities or different states take care of preparation of the development plan. It's not always the urban local governance body, it's not always the uh, development authority. So it varies city to city and state to state. Uh, so this is another diagram which you can see at your own time to get further understanding how the coordination is taking place. And this is the specific example of Bangalore metropolitan region. In the region, how development plans are being made, how district region development plans are made and their implementation is coordinated, how the metropolitan region development plan is made and who is responsible for that. The state vision document, there is an arrow missing here, I think, because this is decided by the state vision document. The vision document is decided by the MPs and MLAs and it is frequently updated. So this acts as, based on all of this, you can see both it's bottom up and top down. So there is a feedback loop going from the local level body, from the lower level bodies to the upper level bodies, and all of this is how the coordination between different levels of governance take place for the development of different plans at the local level and regional level and their implementation. Also, I have added another document for you to see. This is the revised master plan for Bengaluru 2031. It is a draft master plan, and this is only volume 1 vision document. But you can search for the other parts of this document on their website. I have only provided this, as this vision documents provides sort of an overview of the whole document, or what the document covers, what it entails, what is the area which this document discusses, uh, how the history progressed in terms of development of master plans in Bengaluru. I have also added side notes for you to see. So this is, as you can see, these are the different development plans which the authorities have prepared for Bengaluru. Then this is some information of how the Bangalore Development Authority came into being, and then what are the different plans it takes care of, the authority makes and implements. Then there are some highlights. So as you can see, the plan period they have mentioned. You can see the plan period changes from time to time. As you can see, it's not the same every time for every plan which is made. Then you can see another important thing which you should know, that the extent or the boundary for which any development authority plans, that is also not constant. As you can see here, it was 500 square kilometer first for the 1961 to 76 plan. Then for CDP 2000, the area extent was 1279 square kilometer, which remained the same for 2011, and then it reduced for 2015 revised master plan. This is because several villages which were earlier included uh, in the jurisdiction of BMA, they were removed from this jurisdiction and their planning was to take place separately. So these things you can further study from this document and get a idea of. Okay. And then you can see another thing which I mentioned from this URDPFI guideline, that sometimes there are plans which fit in neither category, like they are somewhere between two categories. So they need special treatment, like special kind of documentation and special planning. And this is specifically true for the for the city of Bangalore and the Bangalore metropolitan region, because it's a very fast growing and and a region with very high economic activity. So it also comes under several other under the jurisdiction of several other parastatal bodies or other regions which are important to the state. So as you can see, while making the plan for this, the BMA has to consider the different land distribution under different bodies which it can plan for. So first is the conurbation area of the local planning area of under VTA. Then area outside the conurbation area, and then the area under BMI CAPA, which is the Bangalore Mysore Infrastructure Corridor area, which is under the jurisdiction of that planning authority. So as you can see from this map, this is the city proper, as you can say, which is inside the conurbation area of the local planning area under the BTA. Then the area outside, and then in yellow you can see, I don't know if you can see here, but you can later go to the document and see. This is the BMIC corridor, and this area also comes under the jurisdiction of that authority. So for that, this development plan has to align with the development plan of this authority also, and with the special area development plan or the regional development plan which that area is making. So I hope the question from this was the question from the last session, and I hope it is clear that how different kinds of development plans and regional development plans and local area development plans are made, and who are the responsible bodies and how they differ with each state and each city. One very helpful exercise, I think, which you can do on your own is go through the documents. Like you can go through these documents, obviously, as I've uploaded these for you on the drive folder. But apart from that, you can even go to the documents of your specific city or any city you want to work towards or you live in, and you can go through the city's documents, your city's documents, and then see who are the responsible development planning development authorities, who makes the plans, who implements the plan, what is the role of the urban local body in the development and implementation of the plans, how the state acts, what are the responsibility of the states, what are the different parastatal bodies which are associated with it. If your city is associated with the regional development plans of a larger region, which region it is, which is the authority which is taking care of the planning of that region. All of these things you can see and you can understand for that state, and when that state and that city, and then you can compare it to Bangalore city's example, and then you can see how it differs from your city. So that can be a good exercise, and I'm sure it will really help you a lot to understand how practically these functions take place, how these functions are actually taking place in Indian cities. Okay, so now let's start with the assignment. So this is assignment 4 for the lectures covered in week 4. These lectures were lectures 16 to 20, and these are the 5 lectures which were taken. I'll just give a short brief of what was covered in these lectures. So first is urban reform and managing change, parts 1 and 2. In this you would have learned what are urban reforms, why they are needed, what kind of urban reforms are there. Uh, then you would have understood a little bit about the domain of urban reform, how who implements them, how it gets implemented, who are the leading bodies who take care of the reform. Then you would have understood a little bit about the concept of change management in these bodies, as reform is essentially a process of change in the functioning and governance in the city. Then you would have learned a little bit about the process of how this change management takes place. You would also have seen a few examples of this change management. Then next would be visioning for cities. So this is an again important part of this lecture series, as you should understand that when change happens, when reform and change happens for the governance process or functioning of cities, it is important to have a vision of how this change will occur, what the cities need. So for that, the next part of the lectures was visioning for the cities. This section discussed why we need vision, why we need visioning, how leadership is important for creating this vision, what role leadership plays. Someone is asking, I have enrolled for this course, but the problem is that date of exam is clashing with another course. Okay. I am really sorry. I cannot convey this message to anyone. Please write to someone from the NPTEL team. I am only the teaching assistant for this subject, and I am only responsible for any doubts you have regarding these sessions. So regarding the course content, these are logistic issues, and these you should take up with the NPTEL team. So you might be getting emails from them. So kindly email to them regarding your problem, and then they can sort it out. Okay, let's return to our assignment. Okay, then next section is resolving conflicts and managing change, which is change management. So you would have studied what uh, what is the relationship between conflicts and change management, how conflicts arise, and how they can be managed, what is the nature of these conflicts, how they arise during the change, what is the process of change, what are the styles of conflict management, how conflict can be managed, and then a little bit about what are the do's and don'ts in change management. Last would be leadership and team building. So, as you might have uh, seen, leadership and team building is a very important part if when you are undertaking any kind of reform and change in the governance process of any organization. In our case, it is governance in the city. So, this section discusses the basic attributes of leadership and team building. We move on to our questions next. So first question is, two types of urban reforms envisaged under the JNNURM were what? So you are given different options for these. I would not tell you what the answer for this question is, but I would explain what JNNURM is and what is the urban reforms this question is talking about. So, JNNURM is Jawaharlal Nehru Urban Renewal Mission. It was a program which aimed at reform of various functions and services which was being performed by the urban government. So, before this program came, it was seen that a lot of urban governments were conducting different functions in the city, and there was need of reforms in the way these functions and services were being performed. But uh, before this program came, there were several other smaller and theme-based uh, programs which were taking care of introducing these reforms in those functioning. But what was happening was, as funds were being dispersed for these reforms to take place for betterment of the functions and the services, but efficiency in bringing of the reforms or bringing better functions and services was not being provided. So this program was then introduced in order for it to be comprehensive in nature. So it absorbed the other programs which were smaller and theme based, which existed previously. So it absorbed all of the other programs, and a comprehensive program was created in its place. So what this program did was, it made some reforms, it introduced some reforms for the governance and functions, and it made those reforms essential. So if those reforms were not made by the local governance body, the disbursement of funds to take care of these programs would not be done. Then apart from these, what this program did was, it made provisions for some additional reforms as well. So these reforms, while not essential, these could also be undertaken based on the local context, if they are needed in that city or the local area or not, based on the institutional capacity which the local bodies have, and based on their convenience. So am I audible to you? Am I audible to everyone? Can anyone just okay? Okay, I'm audible. Okay, let's go back. So okay, so the last is, these reforms were undertaken by both the local and state government. So some of these reforms, they were to be implemented by the local government, and other reforms were to be implemented by the state government. If you go to the content of JNNURM's different reforms, which are mentioned in the lecture and the associated study material. You can go into the details of these reforms. So based on that, I'm sure you can answer this question. Our next question is, the main intent to frame citizens charter of urban local bodies is what? And you are given 4 options again. So first you need to understand what a citizens charter is and what's its purpose, why it came about. So as you know, with as India develops, as the knowledge and literacy of the citizens of urban areas increase, citizens become increasingly aware of their rights. So they can articulate their problems, their expectations from the urban local body more clearly, and they expect the administration not merely respond to their demands but also to anticipate them. So for this, considering this, the Department of Administrative Reforms and Public Grievances in Government of India, DARPG, uh, it initiated the task of coordinating, formulating and operationalizing citizen charters. So it created guidelines for formulating the charters, and it also created a list of do's and don'ts, which it then communicated to various government departments and organizations. As these government departments and organizations are supposed to create the citizen charters. So what the citizen charter represents, it is a commitment of these departments and organizations towards standard, quality, time frame of service delivery, grievance, presence of uh, good grievance redressal mechanism, transparency in their functioning, and accountability. And the objective of this charter is to charter exercise is to build bridges between the citizens and the administration, and to streamline administration in this way, which is in tune with the needs of the citizens. So how this is done? So citizens charter, what is, it's essentially a document of commitments. So this document of commitments is made and distributed by a government organization to the citizens or client groups. So in this way, it builds a bridge, as we saw in the previous point. What this document does, is it identifies the services which would be provided by the organization to attain its mission or mission and vision, and it lists all the services which would be made available through various agencies. Some charters also give information about the details of business which is transacted by any organization. So you can consider it as a way of the organization communicating all of the services or schemes which the organization is providing to the citizens. Because you know, several times people are not aware of which function is undertaken by which organization, which department, what they can get done, what they cannot get done by their urban local body. So this is in a way a form of communication and a form of informing the citizens what function any organization owes the citizens. And then another way, it is a as you can see, it also seeks a grievance redressal mechanism, and it's another way of maintaining transparency and accountability in the functioning of any organization. So I hope this clears to you what a citizens charter is, and it helps you answer this question, which is asking to you what is the intent to frame a citizen charter of urban local body. Our next question is, identify the correct statement related to a plan's documents, and you are given four alternatives. These four alternatives talk about vision, city's vision, or and objectives. So I will tell you about what a city's vision is and what planning or governance objectives are, in order to uh, provide you a background on how this question is to be solved. So, what a city's vision is a collective wish of all the citizens to grow and make a better future. It is part of their aspiration for greater quality of lives in the city. It is sharing a common dream, so it should be common among citizens from different backgrounds, from all age groups, from different ethnicities, different socio-cultural backgrounds which are in the city. Then it is vision is geared towards making and contributing for the betterment of present and future generation. So this is again an important point. The city's vision is not just for the present generation which is living in the city, but even for the future of the city, for the future citizens which would be inhabiting in the city. And at the end, a city's vision is essentially a roadmap for policy and development. So it acts as a lighthouse, you can say, or a roadmap which guides the development of all the policies and plans in the city. How planning this is vision. And another thing which the question mentioned is planning or governance objectives. So these are different from a vision. So while, like I mentioned, vision provides a very broad perspective, objectives are very specific. They convey specific things to be achieved, and then they are measurable, as we have to measure what they are achieving. They should be attainable, as what we are setting as objective, it should be an attainable goal. It should not be a goal which is not attainable. Then it should be reasonable. So it should be within reason. Even if something is attainable, should we do it? Is there any reason behind going after that objective or not? And then it's time bound. So we should be able to finish the specific objective or achieve the specific objective within set time. These are some differences between vision and objectives, so which can help you identify how they are different and which is which. So vision is a broad statement of collective wishes of citizens in any city. Objectives are SMART, as I discussed here: specific, measurable, attainable, reasonable, and time bound. Vision is a crisp idea of where you want to go or what you want to achieve. Objectives are not one, objectives are often multiple, and they are based on different themes. Vision leads to making scenarios. So it leads to making scenarios of how your present and future city or development in your city would look like. However, objective leads to development of specific programs and projects. So as it targets on specific attainable goals, it targets specific programs. It leads to making specific programs and projects which can target those specific goals. Then vision is part of policy and plan documents, but part of policy and plan documents, and objectives are part of plan documents, not policy documents. Then vision is for vision, public consultation is essential, but for formation of objectives, public consultation is only a part, because when you make specific programs and projects, technical analysis is very essential, and more expert consultation is required for formation of objectives. I hope it is clear to you how vision and objectives are different and which is which. Our next question is the correct sequence of behavioral change during an organizational reform is what? So, this is the change curve you would have studied in your lectures. So, there are four stages in which any reform takes place. So, this is the curve which which can show you how this change takes place. So you can see this is the line of time on from past to future. This is how the time traverses, and this is the way, this is the direction in which change occurs from past to future. It's so as you can see, the curve here starts with denial. So whenever any change occurs, uh, the first phase is of denial. So I'll give you an example. I think that example will help you understand this better. Consider change in technology and introduction of computerization in organizations where everything up until now was being done manually. So first stage in that would be denial, that the people in the organization or the citizens, they would say, they would deny the need for this change, or the reasonability of this change. They would say that the work up until now was being done manually, there is no need for computerization. uh, Almost always uh, this denial is geared by fear. So the people who are working in the organization, they might fear losing their jobs as they do not have competent computer skills, or they might have a fear of making this change in their uh, skill set, if they will be able to learn, if they will be able to cope with the new system that comes in. So there can be several things which triggers these fears, and that uh, creates denial among the organization. uh, from that, from this fear and denial, then we move on to anger, uh, because uh, because the organization or parts of the organization, members of the organization are asked to do something which they are not willing to do. There will be some anger and some resistance as they do not want to do this. But as the change progresses, even after their resistance and anger, there will be sadness, as what they want from the system is not uh, happening. The next stage will be acceptance. So as the change progresses, as they understand, as they accept ki this is how the reform is going to take place, manual work will not last forever. To increase the efficiency, it is essential to computerize the system, to have better accountability and better work. It is essential to computerize the system. With that will come acceptance, and then will come relief that this change is happening. Then will come exploration. So after the members of the organization have accepted that this is the change they will have to make moving forward for the future, they will start exploring options. So the people who do not have computerization skills or computer skills, they can explore options on how their skill can be developed, how can they learn it, what are their options moving forward with the future, what is the finance that would be needed for the skill development, for computerization, for purchase of all the equipments, and all of those kind of things. So then comes the exploration. After, as the exploration comes, then comes interest. So as you start exploring the new system, you start seeing the change, you start taking interest in it, and with interest comes liking. You ultimately find some components of the system which you like. Like definitely, if you learn the computer skills, it would make a lot of your manual work easier. So there would be some components of the new system which you would like, and with that liking would come commitment and then enjoyment. So this is the way any change in an organizational reform comes, and it moves in this way from the past to the future. I hope this is clear and you can answer this question. We'll move on to the next question, which is the last question. uh, It is a match the following. So in group 1 you have different reforms, and in group 2 you have different work domains these reforms are linked to. So you have to connect which reform is linked to what. So first is development plan, city development plan. So I'll just explain all these reforms to you, uh, their background, and then I'm sure you can relate what work domain they relate to. So first is city development plan. I'll explain what a city development plan is, although I gave you a brief background earlier. City development plan is a statutory plan. It is prepared under a relevant act within the framework of an approved perspective plan. It came about with the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. Objective of the development plan is to provide further necessary details and intended action in forming of strategies and physical proposals for various policies given in perspective plan and regional plans, depending upon the economic and social needs and aspirations of people and available resources and priorities. Another important thing to consider here is proposals of the development plan indicate the intention of local authority regarding physical, social, economic development and facilities and services that are proposed to be provided in the near future. So you need to see here, this says local authority. So development planning earlier was not done by the local authority. There were other bodies, specific planning bodies related to that. But with the reforms came the responsibility, as which 12th schedule, the city was assigned several responsibilities. So it reformed the way in which functions uh, it reformed the functions which a city undertakes, and among those functions was the creation, like making and implementing the city development plan, which came under the purview of the local government. So this is what this reform means. Next, we'll come to user charges. So this reform came with JNNURM. So as a part of its mandatory reforms, it suggested to levy reasonable user charges for usage of different infrastructure and services which are provided by the urban local body. So these can include things like water supply, solid waste management, licensing services like providing driving licenses and things, sweeping and cleaning of public areas. All of these are undertaken by the local body, and they can uh, levy reasonable user charge on all these services and infrastructure. Uh, the objective of taking this user charge was, like for the city, the objective was that all these services and infrastructure, they can be managed and sustained for a longer term by the aid of the financial help that the city will get by levying this user charge. uh, Moving on to rationalization of stamp duty. Okay, so I hope you understand what stamp duty is. Stamp duty is basically a tax that is levied on a single on property purchases or other documents, which can include documents like checks, receipts, military commissions, even marriage licenses and land transactions. So what this reform did was it guided that the instead of stamp duty being higher, which is usually 7 to 8% or even more in some cases, rationalizing the stamp duty and bringing it down to no more than 5%. This it did so that even people from economically backward sections or economically weaker sections can afford to pay the stamp duty. Another document which I have attached for you to look at is the stamp duty and registration fee list for the Uttarakhand state. You can see here these are different things for which stamp duty is there. As you can see, this is for sale deed, for sale of immovable property, which means land or anything connected to it. Then for registration lease, then there are things like mortgage deed, bond, bill of exchange. Then for power of attorney, then there are things like for even for partition, if you partition your immovable property, then registration for partnership, the stamp duty for that, then for settlement, then for creation registration of a trust, then for creating security bonds. Then instead of general purchase agreement or sale deed, you can even have hire purchase agreements. For that you can have stamp duty. Then you can even see, if you go further down, there is stamp duty for other things as well, like marriage registration. Although Uttarakhand state does not have any stamp duty for this, other state might have it. So this is one document which I have provided to you in the shared drive folder. Apart from this, you can even go and see this document for your own state. Okay, moving on to the last part of the reforms, which is Urban Land Sealing and Regulation Act. So what reform happened related to this act was, this act was repealed. So a little background about the Urban Land Sealing Act. So what it was implemented in 1976, and the objective of this act was to alleviate the land crisis in the urban market and reduce the soaring prices. So as it was mentioned in the lectures, as in the earlier periods when zamindars used to own a lot of land, and other poorer or weaker sections of the society, they did not used to have land. The affordability of land was very like they could not, the weaker sections of the society, the poorer sections, they could not afford the land, as the land was largely owned by bigger zamindars. So and what when the Zamindari Act was enacted, abolition of Zamindari Act was enacted, what it did was, it gave some land to the Zamindar, and apart from that land, all the land the Zamindars owned, it was taken from them by the government and redistributed to the weaker sections or the poorer sections of the society. So building upon that idea, what this land sealing act was supposed to do, that is that it was supposed to impose impose a ceiling on vacant land or unused land, maximum amount of vacant or unused land which any individual or an organization can hold in urban areas. So the ceiling limit varied from 500 to 2000 square kilometers in different states according to the regulations set by each state. Uh, what happened was after this act was introduced, and land was taken from owners or from owners which were having large amounts of land, more than this ceiling limit indicated. All of these land parcels were in small sizes in different parts of the city. So for the government to take that land, consolidate it, and then use it for development of some project or other needs of the city, uh, it faced many problems in consolidating the land, as the land was in small parcels spread out in different areas. Another thing which happened, that it in the way this act was supposed to help alleviate the land crisis in the urban markets and help create affordable housing by providing government land in which it can develop affordable housing projects, it did not occur. So because of all these problems and other logistical issues, this act was repealed. So this is another reform which happened with the Urban Land Ceiling and Regulation Act, which this question talks about. So these are all our questions for this session. I'll stop presenting now and I'll take your questions if anyone has any questions. Please go ahead. You can just type your questions in the message box and I'll get to them. I see Rahul and Sanika here. If you have any questions, please let me know. Okay, Sanika does not have any questions. Rahul, do you have any questions? Okay, so as you both are the only people present in the meeting and you do not have any questions, I think we can end the session for today. You can post any questions if you have any questions in the discussion forum, which is there, NPTEL discussion forum. If you come up with any questions after this, and I can get to those questions as well. Thank you for attending today's session, and I'll see you in the next session. Bye bye.